When I was in prison, there was a prisoner who lived just a few cells down from me, maybe like 2 or 3 cells away. If I remember right, I was in the first cell and he was in the 3rd or 4th cell. He told others that he was in prison for drugs and robbery, but one day some of the other prisoners found out that he was really in prison for child molestation. He had raped a little child. The next morning, just like you see here, the guards came and racked open the doors, and all of a sudden some of the other prisoners ran up on this guy and they stabbed him and began brutally attacking him. They tried to beat him to death, and luckily for him, the guards intervened, but not before he was a complete bloody mess. Now, this all happened literally right in front of me, no more than 10 or 15 feet away. Whether you are in prison or out of prison, it is an extremely serious thing to label or accuse someone of raping, abusing, or in any way violently hurting children. And yet here we have Neil Wilson, president of both the NAD and the World Church. This man stood up as the leader of the Adventist Church and told the international news that we Adventists lean towards attacking and violently hurting little children. As the president of the Adventist Church, he told the world without any evidence whatsoever that we Adventists support ripping the arms and legs off and tearing the spine out of the backs of little children. And this statement and false witness has stood uncontested for over 48 years. And have you noticed something? No union, division, or GC president or vice president has ever, at any time, ever made any public statement that in any way contests this accusation. Not one. Life News, right here, publicly accused Adventists of woefully supporting the crime of child murder, and not one leader denied this accusation. The Washington Post, one of the most read international newspapers, accused Adventists of child murder, and not one leader denied or challenged this accusation. And here we go, the Adventist Review, our very own flagship journal of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, has on multiple occasions not only published false and misleading information about abortion in our church, but openly stated that most Adventists would agree with the position allowing unrestricted child murder on demand. When non-Adventist media accuse Adventists as supporting child murder, this is of course very upsetting, and members in our church should be furious that we are being labeled as wanting to attack children. But this is not from outside our church. This is from our very own leaders, who never provided any evidence whatsoever to support their statements, who never provided any apology for their unfounded accusations. Our very own president accused the brethren in our church. To accuse one person of child rape or child murder is one thing, but these are the leaders of our church who have very publicly maligned and slandered the reputations of not just one or two or a few, but they have slandered the reputations of the entire church body. This is absolutely despicable. The most disgusting accusations against our brothers and sisters in the church have been made by our very own leaders. When I came out of my prison cell that morning, I saw a man get stabbed and almost beaten to death. And why? Because he had hurt a child. They stabbed him because he had hurt a child. But our trusted leaders have accused and maligned the entire church by stating that we support violently attacking little children. This is reprehensible, and I refuse to stand aside. I refuse to sit down and be quiet. I refuse to lay down and just passively accept this. I did not join the Adventist Church so that my church leaders could try to intimidate me with their lies and fraud and spiritual woo-woo into accepting child murder. I absolutely refuse this satanic ideology. I object to this slander and unfounded accusations. Shame on our church for this. How much do you have to hate someone to publicly label them as a child molester or child murderer? How much do you have to hate your brethren in the church to accuse them of supporting this terrible sin of child murder? May God in heaven lead this church to repentance, and if necessary, use the most painful and terrible judgments to do so. The higher the position, the greater the criminality. And the leaders are responsible not only for their own unsanctified mistakes, but for the mistakes of those who follow their example.